Good evening, everybody. How are you? I hope you had a great holiday weekend. I'm Phil Russert, host of Creatorcon Q&A, and we have a special episode tonight, 37.5. We have a great indie creator here tonight. He's a writer, has some great successful books out there that we're going to discuss and talk about. Before we get to that, I have my usual shout-outs for everybody. I just want you to know that go check out Joe Tolliver and Jarrell Motos with their Comics Cast. They are an online show. They have YouTube, and they're fantastic, so you should really go check them out. We have Android's Amazing Podcast. James Santana and his co-host Hunter, they do everything that is comic books and geek culture. Very knowledgeable, very informative, and really up to date on what's going on today with comics. We have The Bit and Apple, which is an online radio show. They do interviews also at conventions, so check them out. We have It Came From the Radio, which is an online radio show that I actually did a spot on last Wednesday, which I believe is live now. You could go check it out if you care to hear anything I have to say. If not, I don't blame you. My wife doesn't either. We have Mad Titan Comics, at @MadTitan_comics on Instagram. Eric Gunderson is the owner and operator, and he is on Facebook, so go check him out if you want keys, slabs, dollar books, you name it, and he's got it. We also have Andy Lee with Let'sDoThis.com, www.LesDudis.com. Everything geek culture and pop culture. Andy is a great guy, does all my promos, the graphics for my promos, so thank you to Andy. And we have Art by Kike. That's Enrique Lopez. That's his page on Instagram, and he has his Inking with Kike show every Monday at 8 p.m. with a special guest. Tonight actually is his last female guest, so you could go check that show after this one. Stay here, don't go anywhere. And lastly, come check out nsclivetv.com. The comic book network created for geeks by geeks, featuring live sales, comic shops, creators, podcasts, cosplay, news, and interviews. That's nsclive.com. So please go check them out. Fantastic. They have a huge network. I mean, everything for everybody to go check out. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's get to the meat of it. Tonight we have a special guest, writer, indie creator. His name is Nandor Fox Shaffer. Sorry, Nandor Fox Shaffer. I hope I got that right. If I didn't, correct me when you come on. He's got an Indiegogo live right now, which is following a successful Kickstarter with his book Seasons, which is really interesting, and we're going to get into that deeply. And without further ado, it's Nandor Fox Shaffer.
Hey, Philip.
Hey. Sorry about that.
You got my name right, so you're good.
I had a lot going on right there. So how you doing tonight? You had a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I did. I had a good time with family, and we don't usually do anything too big, so it wasn't as strange as I know a lot of people's families kind of had to go through this year, but it was a good time. What about you?
Man, as long as I'm around my kids and my wife, everything is golden.
Yeah.
And, we had some other family too, so.
Well, that's awesome.
And anytime I can eat, it's, you don't need to give me an excuse to eat, man.
Yeah, it was really kind of special because I just moved out. This is my first time kind of living on my own this year, and I haven't been really around my mom's great cooking and all that. So like to be able to go back home and have her cooking and have it all homemade was just really, really nice.
Yeah, frozen chicken pot pies and TV dinners get stale really quick, and ramen noodles, right?
Yeah, pizza rolls, all that. Yeah.
Careful, you do too much of that and you start getting all these chins and looking like this. So you're young. Stick with mom's cooking.
Right.
So, you're an independent writer at this point, and you've been successful thus far, which congratulations to you. I mean, you're a young guy and you're pursuing your dream. So I think that's wonderful. You've written Seasons Volume 1 and 2 and Lifeline. Those are the books that you have going on, and we're going to get into those, deeper. But before we do, let's get a little background. Like, who were your writing influences?
Yeah, I in the comic book world, I really grew up around the time that Ed Brubaker was writing Captain America and kind of the whole death of Captain America, Civil War kind of era. And his writing and his run on Captain America was really influential, especially when it comes to kind of inner dialogue and kind of the inner narration for characters in comics. But so Ed Brubaker, along with Jonathan Hickman, he's another really big inspiration. Really a kind of maybe the reason that I ultimately pursued writing comic books over a different medium. I thought about maybe trying to write novels or screenplays, or I'm a big movie fan. I love books, but I've always had a deep-seated love for comics, at a really early age. And kind of the way Jonathan Hickman was able to tell a long-form story over 20, 30 issues and still make it coherent and at least really impactful. It just wowed me. Like I couldn't believe that someone could write this way, and reading his work really made me go, wow, like you can tell these really emotional, intricate, really clever, smart stories in comics. But so I'd say those two are the most influential. And then in the comic book world, and also I really love stuff by Scott McCloud. A lot of his earlier stuff like Zot, and he did The Sculptor, which is kind of an influence on Seasons as well, kind of a grounded but like slice of life superhero story. And then when it comes to other writers, it would be George Lucas, of course, just his world building and the way he's able to tell a story. Stephen Moffat, he wrote a large portion of the new Doctor Who. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and so all of his writing and his stuff in television really influenced me and impacted me, and it just made all the difference, because all these writers, what they did, something I love about storytelling and what they kind of brought to me was just how influential and powerful the art of storytelling can be, and how it changed the way that I would think about the world or think about people or certain themes. And that really put me on my journey to want to be a writer.
Cool. By the way, Rafael Tavares Jr. is a writer, and he wrote, "I feel you. That's the way I started when I was younger. I wanted to write comics because their writing was so amazing."
Yeah.
Russell says, hello, Russell Allen. He's also got Russell, you should, if you don't.
I don't think I do. I should. Yeah. Friend me up.
Yeah.
Russell.
Go follow him. He's also an indie creator, a really good guy. By the way, I'm wearing this in honor of the late David Prowse.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's
it says
so cool.
Number One Dad, though.
Oh no. Okay. I am under this hoodie. I can't show it, but I consciously wore a Darth Vader shirt. So you just have to believe me. But I do have a Darth Vader shirt under here.
Cool. Yeah, it was sad, but it's that kind of year, right?
yeah. And I mean, he did. He led a great life, and I was really I always am really encouraged when I see other co-stars and George Lucas and people come out and say their words to them, and
especially since he kind of didn't get along with Lucas over a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's good that they came out.
Yeah.
But so tell us, you had a successful Kickstarter for your book, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And now you've got the Indiegogo going on, and we're going to show the Indiegogo, but it looks like you have 5 days left.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically for Seasons Volume 2, which is summer.
Right.
So can you tell us about the book, about Seasons? Give us, tell me, why is this book interesting?
Yeah. So Seasons really came about, and kind of the heart of it is embracing the medium. And anytime I approach a story in comics, I want to embrace the medium and tell a story that only you can only tell through comics. And Seasons is such a story where it might be able to work in other forms of entertainment, but it really is a comic book story. And so Seasons is a grounded superhero supernatural story that follows 1 year in this young man's life, and each season is a volume. So it's a planned 4-volume graphic novel series, And so you follow this young man named Fletcher, and with each passing season, his abilities change. He gains new powers and abilities. His power set is based on the seasons of the year. So with passing season, he has to, cope and try to understand why this is happening to him, and kind of understand his abilities. And it's a story about personal responsibility. It's a character piece more than anything, kind of window dressed with a lot of grounded superhero and kind of supernatural elements to it. And it's really a story about finding purpose and meaning when you feel like you're directionless.
Now, just to clarify, does
Mhm.
do his powers change, or do they add on to the powers he already has as the seasons
They do
go?
change, yeah, yeah. So what his power set in spring, he won't have those abilities in summer.
So it's a whole new adjustment for him
Yeah.
to kind of like when you read the X-Men and they were reaching that mutant that just didn't know what was
Mhm.
going on, so it causes confusion. So do you explore the characters' emotions in, wow, now I don't know, how do I deal with this?
Yeah, yeah. So that's something that we especially address in book 2, because in book 1, volume 1, he, this is all happening to him for the first time. So at the start, he has no idea that he's, going to get different set of abilities. So in summer, we finally see that transition, and he, literally, addresses that in, his own dialogue and talking, and he. He's like, oh wait, like I can't do the things I used to be able to do. Like, why is this happening to me? And really, the core theme of summer, especially, is trying to understand why this is happening to him and why he has these abilities. And as the reader, we kind of know, that these are going to change. But for him, Fletcher, this is all new to him, and he's really trying to adjust to all of this.
Now, is this character, what inspired you to create this character? Is it, and the journey that he takes, is it taken from personal account or someone or just fictitiously you came up with this character?
Um, mainly, I would say fictitiously, just because there's a lot that the character goes through in this 1 year journey that I haven't experienced myself, and there's a lot that I wanted to do from a writing and creative standpoint. I wanted to kind of put this character through a grind, and what really was kind of the origin for Fletcher is wanting to create someone who you could, of course, relate to, which is really important for readers to relate to the
Sure.
character, but who's also fascinating, and someone who you don't necessarily understand at the get-go, but still relatable. He's an outsider, but when we begin his story, he's a really kind of pathetic, depressed character, not really much going for him, and he's just really kind of this isolated figure who doesn't want much to do with the world, and he doesn't like waking up in the morning and having to go to work. He doesn't like
How apropos.
yeah. And that's literally where we start in the first page. He's like, I wouldn't want to get up, like, it's daylight savings, so he has to wake up an hour earlier, and he's like, I can't deal with this, it sucks. And he's infatuated with this coworker at work, and it's really his only purpose is to see her, and he's like, well, that's the reason to get up in the morning, to go to work and to see her, not to actually do my job. And so he starts there, and I wanted to show that I think we've all had these moments of feeling like we're not really getting anywhere in life, and everything is really stale and kind of empty. So I wanted that relatability, but also I wanted to create a character that people could root for, where you would want to see them grow, and to like see that growth, from beginning to end, to where by the end of this 1 year journey, you're going to see hopefully a better and completely new person than you would have saw at the start. And so it was really important for me to try to make someone that you would want to get behind and that you would want to see succeed, but also someone that you could, you know, tell that, hey, he has issues, and it's important to address those issues. And hopefully, you know, you can maybe even see that in other people. And I definitely take from what I have experienced and what I have seen. But most of it comes from a place to where I wanted to create someone that felt like an empty vessel, and, you know, make him something, you know, new, make him a new person.
So, in writing, the process of showing the growth of the character, and you know, obviously, see, for me, I used to write, but I was so impatient to get to the parts that I thought were cool that I'm
Yeah.
not good at pacing. So, as a writer, and I've asked this before, especially an indie writer, with a new character that you want to introduce, you want to hook people in the first issue, you
Hmm.
know, but at the same time, you don't want to rush through character development. How do you balance that as a writer? How do you juggle that? What's the process for you when you're writing it to introduce this character, have natural growth and progression going on, but at a pace
Hmm.
that makes sense?
Yeah. So something that I do, I kind of, you know, I definitely break things down on a issue by issue basis, and kind of just keep breaking things down. Like I see where the character is going to be with each volume. I know where he's going to be, but also then I have to take that down and, okay, where is he going to be in this issue? And then take that down and be like, okay, where is he? You know, where is he in the scene? Um, and what's really helped me is, kind of, I guess you could say, outlining, or at least knowing where I want this character to be at this point in time, and trying to logically kind of backpedal to see how we could get there. So
Right.
it's really about, something that I've heard people say before, and it's something I've really started to understand the more I've written, and the more I've made comics, is writing is like doing a puzzle. You know, it's like you have to fill in the pieces. Like, you know how the image is supposed to be. You know, you see the picture and you're like, this is where we want to end up, but you have to put all the pieces together to finally get to that picture. And you know, you start with the border, and then, you know, you kind of fill in and build it in. So that's something that, I've noticed that I always ask myself questions, and I always try to, kind of have it make sense and have it be reasonable for, these scenes to take place, so that it makes sense for those like really cool parts that you want to
Right.
get to. And that makes it all the more satisfying. And those are some of the most, I would say, satisfying parts about, writing, is, being able to lead up to it and actually feel like the lead up, could even better than, you know, the moment. It's kind of like the journey is better than the end goal, where you're like, oh, like this is really awesome, to how, uh, I made this, you know, feel natural for the reader. And you can find some gems there that you wouldn't necessarily think you could find, you know, beforehand.
See, that's why I wouldn't be a good writer, because I'm so like, well, let's get to that destination. You know, that
Yeah.
I'm so impatient that that like I'll have the detail planned out, but I'm so
Mhm.
excited to get to that part that's
Yeah.
why I'm not good at pacing as a writer. I said, I'll just read.
Something, yeah,
But
and something that, I've done, and is, you know, there'll be times where that really cool scene, you know, will come to me, and I'll write it down. You know, it might not be, really scripted or anything, but it's kind of just the main kind of synopsis or summary of like what that scene would be. And so you kind of get that out. You're like,
right.
oh, cool. You know, it's like, you know, lightning in a bottle. You're just like, oh, you know, I have this and I need to put it down. Um, and so from there, it really helps to find, you know, where, how you lead up to that. And so you still kind of get that rush, but, you know, then the hard part, then the writing comes in, and that's what's really tricky.
Russell had said character relatability is really important, and it totally sucks getting up for work every day. Do you feel the character is a projection of yourself and your everyday struggles?
Um, yeah, I would say so. I mean, on a semi personal level, like I try to, you know, integrate things that, you know, I've heard a lot of people kind of moan and groan about, and, you know, daylight savings is one of them. And, you know, like getting up for work, you've had those days where you just like, yeah, exactly, like you hate it.
Perfect
And
segue. Look at you.
yeah, and so it really, you know, I try to find, kind of a general relatability that I've noticed, in my own life. And I think, honestly, those are the most honest stories, that you
Sure.
find, the most sincere, because you can tell it comes from a place of honesty and sincerity, and those are the moments, and the character moments. I love watching a movie and I love reading a comic, and I'm just like, he gets it, like that character gets it, like that's exactly like how I feel, and those are really satisfying. So I try to take what I've experienced in reading and watching movies and TV, and kind of take hold of those moments, and I try to remember those moments. I'll even write them down sometimes, and try to capture that feeling in my own writing as much as I can.
Well, from my experience in my 48 years on this planet, the best way to relate to someone is to commiserate. I mean, if you think about it, as humans, we could have 10 things go right, and the one thing that went wrong or the one interaction that was bad is what we focus on. It's a sad
Yeah,
truth.
yeah.
So I think we gravitate to the negative for whatever reason. So when you can feel that someone feels your pain or
Hmm.
feels that negative aspect, not only does it justify and validate you for feeling the way you do, but there's a comfort in knowing you're not alone and feeling that way. Because when everybody's happy, who cares? I'm happy. I don't care if you're happy. I'm just
Right.
happy. But when I'm depressed, I want to know that I'm not alone here.
Yeah, right,
So,
right.
so I think that's why people root for the underdog and things like that, because the
Hmm.
adversity that breeds character unites us, and we're all struggling. We're all climbing that mountain with the rock on our back.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And that's definitely a kind of a big part of the character is understanding, his loneliness, or his feeling of misdirection, and kind of being misunderstood as a person. He doesn't feel like he really fits in, or if he were to fit in anywhere, what would that look like? And I think that can be a greater problem to try to solve. There are some people who kind of know their calling or know what they want to do, and it's just a struggle to get there. And there are
Right.
other people who are just completely,
Lost. They have
yeah,
no
yeah,
direction. Yeah.
yeah, and they don't know how to, kind of get to that point.
How do
Um,
I apply myself if I don't know what I'm applying myself to?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And
I agree.
that's hard. That's a hard thing to do.
Listen, who you telling? I'm finally figuring out my niche in life, and I'm 48 years old. So good for you for figuring out at 23. God bless you.
Thank you.
Um, the Bit and Apple, I agree, especially when you know where you want to be. You then have to create the journey of how they will arrive at that point. Russ has a question, but I also want to just get to I agree. I tend to write whatever scene is in my head at the moment, and then I play, let's put the pieces together. That way I don't lose the power of the scene, and it's out of the way, and I can deal with the puzzle pieces.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, I tend to think it's kind of like I'm a musician, and happy accidents.
Hmm.
Sometimes when I'm playing the drums or singing, and I make an error, and you're like, "Oh, actually, that sounds really good. I'm going to keep that." Well,
Yeah,
it's kind of similar to stumbling upon something that you hadn't planned, I think, and sometimes those become the best, happiest accidents.
yeah. That's happened to me multiple times, and it's. I think honestly, if you're able to have a roadmap or a tight enough plot, then I think those things kind of naturally will fall into place, or at least they'll come to you a little easier, than if you're just kind of really sporadic with it and not really, understanding your characters or where the
Right.
story could go. There have been times where I'll be completely blocked, or I won't know exactly how this is supposed to play out, and then just like you'll have that one little thing that bridges everything together, and kind of binds it all together, and you're just like how did I find that? And it's really, really interesting, because it's like you had it there all along, and you just have to finally unlock it, in your mind, and then there you go, and you can kind of keep going from there.
Russell had a specific question about the character. Do his powers change with regional climate changes? For instance, if he was in Antarctica and went to Brazil, or is the story based pretty much in a centralized area?
Yeah, so everything pretty much stays stateside in the United States, and everything kind of keeps to his own, I would say, kind of natural internal clock. Like where he lives in his origin place.
Where
That's
he's native to, he would follow the
yeah,
seasons on a
right.
circadian rhythm.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, exactly. You said it better than I could.
Well, actually, there was a great question though. Actually, because again though, you're not going to spoil it for us anyway. Is it the season?
Mhm.
Is it the climate? Is it something else? So, so when you write tell us about your process though, about from where these thoughts are coming to your head, and you're turning this into a comic book script, because that's different than writing a book.
Mhm.
So what's that process for you? To convert it, so to speak, into a comic book script, because now you're not scripting for a person for the average viewer to read.
Mhm.
You're scripting for an artist to understand how they're going to accentuate what you're doing with their art
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah, so the first time I ever saw a comic book script, was like in the back of a graphic novel. I remember, I think it was Jonathan Hickman's The Nightly News. He had an anniversary edition of his first ever image book that he did, and in the back it had the script for issue 1. And I remember when I was trying to, kind of figure out how to write a comic, how would I even start to do that? I would look at comic book scripts and kind of see how they're laid out, and then I would compare. I would compare the completed page with the script and see
Nice.
where there were alterations or where things didn't line up exactly. And I would try to kind of understand more of what was the writer's part in the collaborative process. And so I looked at that, and then I kind of copied and pasted that formula in a way, and then I started to understand how I wanted to write and what I thought was important. And it's really interesting the way you write a comic book script, because there are certain key things you can figure out about yourself with how you want to write when it comes to formatting and should the dialogue be all caps, or should that be the panel descriptions and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of like kind of technical things that kind of play into it that I've been able to notice. But I always
Does it become formulaic for you at that point though?
yeah. So and I'm still learning a little bit, but I'd say I pretty much have my process down when it comes to how much to like write down for the artist, and how much to describe and all that kind of stuff. And
Which
so
begs the question, though. I mean, do you write
Mhm.
loose scripts and give the artist a lot of interpretation in the storytelling, or are you very
Um,
specific and tight in directing them on what you want the panels to be?
right. So it really that answer really is, it really depends on the scene, because if there's a particular scene in my head that I know to me is the best way to show it, I of course will always take suggestions. If the artist has a different idea of what it could be, of course we'll talk about it and I'll hear them out, and we'll see where we go from there. But there are certain scenes or pages in a scene that I know exactly how I want them to look and what's going to be on the panel and where that is in the panel, what the panel sizes are. For a majority of the first book of Seasons, I actually drew out a lot of the layouts and I sent those to my
Oh,
artist.
really?
Yeah, because I had it in my head. It actually helped me be a better writer because I'm such a visual person myself. So r- drawing it out for myself actually helped me write the scene better, because I could see it in my head and see it on the page and be like, would this actually work? Because there's some ideas that until you put on the page, they won't work, or you just have to really kind of see what they do, trial by fire and all that. But it's really comes down to kind of the scene. And I do write, I would say I write more detailed scripts than loose scripts, just because I really do know what I want from a story, and I know what scenes and what dialogue moments have to be important for the character.
Right.
And I don't want the artist to misinterpret anything. That's really the whole goal, is not that they would mess it up, but just misinterpret what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So as long as I, kind of have that down, it makes things a lot easier. And I always, with my scripting process, I always start out, I don't necessarily really do outlines, but I write down kind of summaries of like what's going to happen in this issue. And then I take that and I apply it to a script. I always have a notebook with me. I write down ideas, every day. And I always have a physical notebook with me, because it actually makes me write better, or makes me a better writer. Not that I don't like computers, and I do, write scripts, type them up, but there are certain pages that, I'll write in my notebook, full comic book pages, panel 1 to, just kind of go all throughout. And, I start there, and then I kind of copy and paste what's on the notebook into, the Word document or whatever.
Russell Allen said, I agree. My character is a projection of the struggles over the last 10 years, and I think it helps to make the character more relatable. Also, using friends or people and the way they act as a building block for other characters in the story. Now, talking about the creative team and everything, is the same creative team working with you for season 1 as it was for season 2, or for volume 1 and volume 2?
Yeah. So it's really me and Anthony Gonzalez Clark, and he does all the art and the lettering. And so
oh, really? And colors too, or is it a color book, or is it a black and white book?
Well, it's mainly black and white. And we're introducing color with each volume, and that has to play in with the narrative. And we're literally like bringing color back into this character's life, and so we're kind of playing with.
So it's color. Metaphorical as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. And so that was really kind of the idea we had for that. So all of book 1 is black and white, but as we get to volume 2, there will be pages that are fully colored. And so and then as we get to 3 and 4, we'll have more. But it's really, me, myself, and Anthony, and we've been at this together since late 2016. It's been him and I, and we really, are a 2-man army, and we do it together, and we storyboard together, and I send him layouts and he sends me layouts, and we really have created a really great partnership and friendship over the last couple of years.
How'd you meet?
We actually met through DeviantArt. I emailed him. I had actually written the majority of volume 1, and I was starting to look for an artist, and I saw a piece he had done from It's a Wonderful Life, and he did a really great rendering of Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, and it was just like beautiful. And so I looked at some of his other art, and I emailed him, and he was looking for work. So it was just this kind of, divine meeting where we're just like, hey, we're both kind of on the same path of wanting to make a really powerful story. And he was looking for work, and I was, wanting to make a comic and wanting to hire an artist. So it was just perfect timing.
Well, I also want to commend your parents. Who Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed are at 23, so someone did a good job.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that movie, and I love old classic films, and that's something that Anthony and I share together. We're really
probably helps your writing too.
Yeah, it does, because that's you can't diss the classics,
right? The relationship between writer and artist is an important one. The better you gel, the better it is. Agreed. It's, to me, a comic creative team is like any rock band. The rock band that succeeds is because no ego gets involved. Their role and their place and what they're supposed to do, and they're all smaller parts to a larger piece. And when you can put ego aside, work together in the confines of what it is you're looking to do, but at the same time collaborate, I think a creative team like that rock band will be very successful in what's put out there and the longevity of what they do. So congratulations on finding that person to lock in with, because that's very huge. That's important.
Yeah, and it was really, it was when I contacted Anthony, I let him know too that, hey, like, if you're gonna, be a part of this project, this is gonna be a big project. Like, if we're successful, this is gonna be 4 volumes, and this is gonna be, each volume is gonna be over 100 pages. It's gonna be a lot of work, a lot of, teamwork involved, and So it was really important for me to find someone that, I could continue a partnership with, a creative collaboration that, we could set aside the ego and set aside our differences, because at the end of the day, it's about making the book the best it can be. And
Sure.
one thing that I love that I've been able to see in our relationship as we've been doing this for a couple of years is I've learned that, how much we trust each other more now than we did in the beginning, because we know where we're coming from. And
And you build
that's something,
chemistry
yeah, it's
and
become,
trust.
a good back and forth. And there have been some layouts that I've sent or that he sent, that we've rejected, vice versa. And but we'll put those aside. And at the end of the day, it really comes out to be the best possible version, or it's a best of both worlds. Two heads are better than one, and the page comes out even better than we could have thought.
Well, the intangibles that people don't look at is once you develop that trust and confidence in each other, you feel more comfortable critiquing each other or saying,
Yeah,
well, how about we go this way? When you know that you can bounce something off of someone and they're not going to take it personally or they're not going to be offended, it just creates that work environment, that chemistry. And I think that's very huge in the success of a team. By the
yeah.
way, Keith Brunswick is in the house. He said hello. Keith
Hey,
is a
Keith.
good guy. So you had a successful Kickstarter and everything, and everything's looking good so far. And
Mhm.
it's people are enjoying the book. Where did you get the concept for Seasons?
It really came from a place of wanting to, again, embrace the medium, but uh, try to tell a story that. So when I was thinking about writing comics, I really kind of posed the question to myself, what would that look like? And, what kind of comic would that look like? Because Seasons is my first stab at it. It really is my first go at it. And it came from this place of, when it comes to superheroes, we all know what Superman can do. We know what Wolverine can do. We know what, Batman and Wonder Woman and all these characters, what their power set is. And so I thought it would be really interesting to take a character and have that be taken away from them, where the kind of the characteristic of that character is his powers change. And I wanted that to make sense, within a larger framework. And I thought, well, hey, life is all about change, and we experience seasons, and it's like seasons change. And what if the seasons were kind of, instrumental in this character's powers changing? And then it just created, a flood of, more metaphors and more ideas to go with, because uh, the theme of Seasons is change, and it's about, change in a good
Embracing
or a
that
bad way.
change.
Yeah, it's about growth. It's about and kind of that cycle of life. Kind of the yin and yang of balance of life, and kind of all of that. And so it just like opened a floodgate of ideas for me to kind of play with. And I knew it would be really interesting to also set that. What also got me excited for the concept, what kind of solidified the story, was that 1 year concept of going, what would it be like to follow a character in real time? Like, you're going to sit down and you're going to read spring, and you're going to read summer and fall and winter, and you're going to see um, each month, each day, you're following this character, and it's going to feel even more intimate. And comic books are all, it's an intimate medium. You sit
Right.
sit down and you have that time with those characters, and it's a very intimate experience for you to be in the head of those characters and all of that. And I wanted to, take that up a notch and go, let's put this, in a 1 year journey, and kind of sell it as that, where he starts, is not where he's going to end up, and make that interesting to people, make people want to invest in this character. And that's what really got me excited to, write this character and make the story. And also, I love the idea of like, hey, with each new book, I get to play around with new powers. It's like that's really awesome, because that way you're not constrained to being like, well, he always does this. It's like, well,
Right.
when we get to the next book, that's going to be completely different, and everyone's going to be it's unpredictable. And I love that in a story where you can't, really predict or assume what's going to happen. And each book also has its own flavor. It was really important to me, if I was going to do this and do this big series, to keep things really interesting and fascinating. And each book kind of has its own, I would say, style and the type of genre that it's trying to take hold of. And like book one is very much more of a personal kind of thriller in a way, psychological thriller. And book two is more of a superhero blockbuster, and 3 and 4 will be different too. But of course, they all stay within the kind of grounded superhero genre, but it's kind of taking different elements of some of my favorite stories and kind of applying it so that each season feels different, but it still feels like one story.
Nice. And by the way, John Ottinger, who is another wonderful human being, says, "Hey all." He's a creator as well.
All right. Hey, John.
He's a really good guy. All right, so let's dive into the Kickstarter, because I've got that here, and let's discuss that. All right. Yeah, I'm going to block us both out so people can see it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So this is, it's not a Kickstarter, it's an Indiegogo. Forgive me. The Kickstarter was completed and successful on both of them. So this is for volumes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Which is great, because then you don't have to worry about trying to backtrack and find the first volume. You've got them both right here. And you got 5 days left.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that people knew, I did the first volume on Kickstarter in 2018 or 2017. And so I hadn't done an Indiegogo before. And so when I was going to bring it to this platform, bring seasons to Indiegogo, I wanted to make sure that, hey, you guys won't miss out. Volume 1 and 2 will be available.
Well, I have to say, just looking at the art here is incredible. Do you want me to play the preview here, or?
Sure, if you like.
Let's
it's not
play
too
that
long.
Preview. I have to say, the artist does a great job of capturing mood, and you could see how you spoke of colors being introduced slowly as the different, as obviously progression and change as a metaphor for the changes in his life. So that's the art looks excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Anthony's biggest fan, and I couldn't imagine anyone else drawing this book and working on this book with me.
What I would ask you to do after the show, or if you're able to do it during the show, feel free to put any links to Anthony that people could find him and his work. Even if it's after the show, feel free to put it in the chat and link so people can, see him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we got the tiers here. I don't know if you want to go over some of the tiers, show some people what they'd be pledging, and what they'd be getting for it.
Yeah, of course. That'd be awesome. So yeah, I have the first tier there. That's the featured tier, and that's for seasons volume 1 and 2. And it's signed, what I call the collector's edition of the book. And that's actually a really good deal, because each collector's edition of the book, it's not just signed by Anthony and I, but it actually features an exclusive book plate that features exclusive art, and it's numbered out of so many copies. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, so everyone who gets that tier, they'll get volume 1 and 2, and kind of have a nice little book plate on the inside. And those are the only copies that are signed by Anthony and I. We don't live nearby each other, so if people want the both writer and artist, that's how they can get our signatures that way.
And how many pages is each volume of story?
Yeah, so both volume 1 and 2 are over 105 pages.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
and then we get the PDF.
yeah, and that's for issue 1, and that's the first 25 pages. That's the first issue. So people who, want to check it out and kind of get a little appetizer there, they can see if they like the book and get the first issue for $1.
Nice. And then you got the next PDF.
Yeah, that's for volume 1, and then you have the volume 2 PDF.
Okay.
And you get the
Then you get
bundle.
the 2, and then you have a hardcover.
Yeah, and so that's the regular. Both books are hardcover, so it's over 100 pages for a hardcover for only $20, and they can get book 1 right there.
Nice.
And book 2 is also $20, and it's a hardcover. And something that's really exciting about book 2 that I want to mention is we hit one of our stretch goals. Our first stretch goal was to make it a deluxe hardcover, and by deluxe, I mean there's going to be embossing and spot gloss
Nice.
UV on the cover, and also the pages, the interior pages, are going to be a thicker paper stock. So it's going to look super sick, when we get it out from the printer. It's going to, like Fletcher there, right in the center. He's going to be really like popping out from the cover, and I just can't wait.
Oh, that's going to look great.
Yeah.
That's cool. Then you have more tiers here, of course. Those are these are hardcover as well?
Yeah, they're both hardcovers, yeah.
Cool. And then you've got
yeah, so those are both books, but just not the collector's editions.
Now we go into this Fox Collector's Bundle, which leads us to Lifeline. Lifeline was a book that you had done last year, 2019, and it was successful.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I thought it was a very clever concept. I find it very interesting, and I definitely I want to check this book out. So tell me about Lifeline. Tell me about the process, everything that went into it, and what it's about, so people know what they'd be getting in this tier.
Yeah. So Lifeline was a project that I did with 7 different artists from all around the world, all with varying styles, and it's a 96-page full color trade paperback that follows the entire life of one man, and each chapter is drawn by a different artist, and each chapter takes place in a different decade of that man's life, and it's also told from the perspective of a different character. So each art style is meant to complement that character and that decade and that kind of story and that scene. So and it's really kind of a journey that you take with this one character and his family, and kind of it's about family and about legacy, and trying to understand, is my life worth living, and what does that look like? And so you see this character as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, and then as a middle-aged man with a family, and then as an elderly man. And so it kicks off with him having a heart attack, and it kind of goes through his timeline and his lifeline, and you see that through all the people that were important to him throughout his life. And so like it was a really it came from a place of kind of two places where there were a lot of artists I really wanted to work with, and I knew that I couldn't do big books with them. So I wanted to try to make a story where I could work with all these people, but still have something really substantial for people to get. And then also I wanted to kind of challenge myself as a writer and tell someone's life story in a book under 100 pages. And it really is kind of meant to give you that idea that life is short. And so when you read the book, it's only 96 pages, but you get this whole life story, and it kind of interplays into that kind of meta narrative of life is short, and you need to appreciate those people around you and kind of the life that you have, and kind of understand where you are in the world. And so it was, it really came from a place of wanting to, again, take on the medium in a different way, and then also work with so many talented people.
I'm seeing a writing theme with you, though, about the changes that we go through in life, the natural
Right.
progressions and growth, but different takes, which I think is great. Lifelines, it really interested me, actually, especially being someone, I'm 48 and I've already, gone through different stages in my life. So I
Right.
could probably relate to some of this. But how did you select the different artists on the book?
Yeah, so I kind of deem myself sort of an artist hunter in a way because I'm always and I know you probably feel the same, and like, we love art and we love appreciating art. And I noticed there were, a lot of great Kickstarters that I had supported and a lot of people I had met through the indie community that I just absolutely loved their work, and I'd found them through either Kickstarter or Facebook or different art forum sites and things like that. And for instance, the cover artist and the guy who does all the present day pages, Patrick Biermeyer, he's done some fabulous work. He kind of does more horror stuff, but he kind of I loved his really grounded style. And I also worked with someone who I absolutely love, and I actually own the original pages from Lifeline of the chapter he did. His name is Ren Noen, and he does all traditional watercolors, and it is just incredibly like mesmerizing to see his pages and see his artwork. And so I worked with people that are completely all digital and then all traditional and then mixed media. There's a chapter that is just black and white, and there's a chapter that it's one of the sadder stories in there, but it's a completely has a completely blue palette to it. And so I met these people just through kind of networking and going on different art forum sites, and kind of wanting to bring a lot of varying styles together for one book and try to have that make sense, because I've always loved anthologies, but something about anthologies that I wanted to change was tell a complete story, but still be able to work with different artists. So that way people feel like, this is a full length, one shot graphic novel, and they get something
Right.
really substantial, but still get a lot of different, styles, and kind of bring all the fan bases together for one book.
Russell Allen had said, "There's so many amazing artists out there, and that's the fun of indie creating. You can choose the people you want to do the art based on the feel and the style of the piece needed." And I agree. And the truth is, there's a lot of hungry artists out there that they're going to give you like every ounce of passion and love they have in what they put out there. And these guys, these gals, they want to work. They want to express themselves. They want to get out there, and it's great to see the indie culture, the indie scene popping up bigger and better than ever, and getting talented writers like yourself to complement their art and vice versa,
Yeah.
and give them a chance to shine. So I think that's a wonderful thing. And Russell, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and something too, like I was thinking about with Lifeline was because it was very, very interesting to work with so many different people and to have them all take a character through him getting older and having them having the character still look the same. And there was a lot of interesting ways that we figured out how to do that. One was having him have this certain watch through every chapter, and then also have a scar on kind of the right side of his face. And but what made that all the more awesome to do was for me as a writer to work with so many people and to bring so many people together. I knew that in the future, if I were to ever take on maybe a big editing project, or become an editor, or work with a bunch of different people, this book is kind of my, you could say, report card or resume, portfolio, to be like, hey, I can bring all these people together and I can make a coherent story, and I can do
Sure.
something to where we can kind of make the best of both worlds with all of this.
You're like an art director. By the way,
Yeah.
Russell said if you need lots of explosions, he knows someone.
All right.
So real quick, I just want to go over some Amazon reviews for season 1 spring, which was successful. Obviously, This is for both spring and summer. I was totally hooked. The quality of printing and cover is top notch. However, what really sets this graphic novel apart is the writing and the art. How very refreshing to experience a writer-artist team that lights up the horizon of a new breed of independent comics. Seasons has my highest recommendation. I am eagerly awaiting Seasons Volume 2 Summer. Well, they don't have to wait any longer because it's here.
That's right.
The hardcover is a nice... Sorry, I'm partially colorblind, so red on black and all this is not helping.
No, you're good. A nice
The hardcover has a nice feel...
cheek interior.
Thank you. Absolutely heart-stirring, forward, ugly, tears.
Ugly. Yeah, tears by the afterword.
Afterward, completely riveting writing, and you got the rest.
Yeah. Styling. Seasons is like nothing you've seen before.
Okay, I think I can get to the last one now. It's more white. You can't help but to get into this story and pull for this young man as he fights his fears and failures. You will be pulled into this epic and you will become a part of the story that the author has so well related to the readers. And that's the thing that appealed to me based on what you said was we all struggle with our fears and our fear of failure and how if we deem something a failure, it's this vicious cycle that exacerbates it even more. And I mean, honestly, the only thing that holds us back is our own fears in life. So I find that to be the most intriguing to me. Mm-hmm. And just so everybody knows, it says if you love James O'Barr's The Crow and Midnight Nation by J. Michael Straczynski and Gary Frank, or The Sculptor by Scott McCloud, works from manga creator Takahiko Inoue Inoue, Slam Dunk and Vagabond, and Akira, that this would be something in the vein of that if you're a fan of that genre. So keep that in mind. And again, the mood that's captured in the art is fantastic. Here are some pages. I mean, a very dynamic, a lot of energy, beautiful. Nice job on the inking and the lighting. Very high quality art. I mean, indie comics these days are really stepping up with the quality. I mean, look at that. Very moody, atmospheric. That's phenomenal. Look at that. It's really a beautiful looking book, and from what for what you're telling us, I'm sure it's written really well, and it's definitely exciting. And here's a preview for summer. This is really cool. Look at this. I mean,
that's one of my favorite pages. I mean, all these are my favorite, but that's especially one of them.
Yeah, look at that. That's fantastic. Really impressive. Look at that. I love how you went from panel to panel there.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of metaphorical statements in the art, in the writing. That is really cool. That is very cool. Wow, fantastic job, man. You wouldn't even need colors on this. I think colors would ruin.
Exactly.
It would ruin what's going on here.
And that's something I love about that composition for that page.
Look at that.
And that one, both of those.
Wow.
That one's a really important page, and obviously the colors there to kind of accent that. But
looks like a photograph.
Yeah, and what's really awesome for people that can tell, kind of see it, is the way the panels are laid out is like a hand on a clock. Kind of like the sun is setting. Yeah. See how it's folding down. And then color starts to escape as we get to the final panel, and the black and white starts to, come back in.
That is so cool. And look at that right there, man. It's so expressive. There's a lot of kinetic energy. I'm really impressed with his artistic storytelling. You really hit the jackpot with him as an artist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, these are typical prices for a Kickstarter, but you're getting how many pages?
Yeah, 100? over 100 pages. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can even get hardcover. Like I said, it's a hardcover, over 100 pages. Very affordable. I can't wait to see you complete all 4. So where are we going from here? After this Indiegogo is over.
Right.
Where do you go from here? What are you going to do next?
Yeah. So, right now, it'll be, of course, fulfillment and all that good stuff, and something I love to do. is also, I do a lot of book signings in my local area, and hopefully, the con scene will open up next year, and I'm definitely going to bring, all of my books to local conventions and conventions around me. But as for the creative process, what I plan on doing is, of course, we're going to be working on volume 3 of Seasons and getting that out there as soon as we can. And then also I have a new project that I'm going to be launching early next year, called Man-Child. And so it's going to be all new limited series that I'm working on with another great talented artist named Jay Mazar. And so yeah, I have a few things in store for next year, but that project I'm really excited about, and people can actually sign up to get notified when that project launches. I have a pre-launch page set up for that, and so it's called Man-Child, and it's really tried and true, but also different take on a tribute to Stan Lee and Silver Age comics. And so yeah, right there, this is the premiere issue and limited series dedicated to the work and life of comics legend Stan Lee. And
you can hit notify me for the launch right there, people.
yeah, and that one is really going to be something special, and what's for multiple reasons. One of the biggest reasons is I'm actually working with a couple of different artists on some variant covers for the book, who work for Marvel. So I'm going to be working with published Marvel artists with
Very nice.
book. Yeah, and so I can't wait to announce who they are. I haven't announced who they are yet, but I've gotten some art back from them, and it's just completely overwhelming to work with these amazing people. And
you got to tell me backstage. I get privy. You got to tell me backstage. I won't say a word. I promise.
No, you're fine. And so I'm really, really excited to do that, because it really is kind of a love letter to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and all of the great, Silver Age era, and also kind of looking at our heroes and trying to, how do they stack up nowadays, and trying to bring the beauty of older comics and the way older stories were told to a modern day audience.
Just so you know, I mean, they're the long links, unfortunately, but I put links to the new project you're talking about now that they can hit to click for alerts. And I also put the current Indiegogo in there right now. They're long links, but honestly, if you just click on them, you go right to it. So you can pledge and support Nandor and the project. When can we expect to see seasons 3? Yeah,
so I definitely, we'll be working hard on that after volume 2 comes out, and I'd expect the Kickstarter for volume 3 to launch, if not late next year. It'll be early 2022.
Cool. So, I mean, it sounds like you've got your ducks in a row. You're doing great. This is funded. The Kickstarter was funded. I mean, I think that's fantastic. How was it to crowdfund on both platforms?
It was exhausting, but like Kickstarter, I really do enjoy the Kickstarter platform, and I've met a lot of great people through there, and a lot of great creators, and also I love their setup, and bringing Seasons to Indiegogo was really kind of an experiment for me to try and to implement. And but something that I wanted to do was Indiegogo's gained a lot of popularity in the last year or so, and so a couple of years, and so I wanted to take advantage of the platform, and I started seeing more creators on both platforms and for the same book, and I thought I should try to see how this could work for my stuff, and there were a handful of people who wanted me to bring it to Indiegogo and wanted to support me on there. So I wanted to, give them a chance to do that. And also, what's really great for people that support the Indiegogo right now, you won't just be getting these books, but, we've unlocked some stretch goals, and some of the stretch goals that we've already unlocked is an exclusive art print that's going to be signed by me. And then
Nice.
also a double-sided bookmark, Seasons bookmark that everyone's going to get, completely for free. That's going to be with their book. So for every backer that backs at a physical tier, they're going to get those things, absolutely free. And everything that we, all the goals that we hit on the Indiegogo, isn't necessarily to make the book, but to get these stretch goals and to get these things to where everyone gets more. And so.
Right.
Our next stretch goal, which I really hope we can make in the next, 5 days, is $2,000. And if we hit the $2,000 goal, it will unlock for us to be able to afford expedited shipping, so that everyone will actually get their books like a month in advance of what the
cool.
time would be. So yeah, we really want to hit that and get the books out as soon as we can. And I think it's a really great incentive, for people on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, to look at it and go, hey, if we hit this, like, I'm getting my book faster, and that's really awesome.
Well, that's one of the things you usually face is everybody's like, where's my book? I didn't get my book yet. Where's my book? So they let's just eliminate that altogether.
Yeah.
Will original pages ever be up for sale?
Actually, my biggest tier that I have on the Indiegogo is an original art tier. It's called the Seasons Collector and Producer. And for $250, you can get an original art page and all this other goodie stuff that you can get with the package. You get your name in the book. You get to be drawn into the story. You get another art print. You get a lot of great stuff. And you get an original page from Seasons.
I'm telling you, there's a few original pages I wouldn't mind having. I've seen in there. I'm serious. The energy in them were really good.
Well, yeah, and something too, I let everyone know that, I send you the options, and I let you decide, which page you want. And so that way you decide, and you're not just getting a random page, you'll get the page that you decide on from what is available. And so yeah, like, if you definitely want one, let me know.
I'm telling you, there's some nice ones in there. I like that one where the transference of energy, like that was going on. I don't know what's going on in the story, but that's a beautiful panel. So what advice would you give any indie creator that's looking to do their passion project and get it off the ground?
I think the biggest thing would be budgeting. I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to making comics that I've noticed, and that's something that's really incredibly helpful, because if you're able to budget as a creator, you really have to swallow the hard pill of being an entrepreneur and being someone who has to be business minded. I'm not saying to take classes or anything like that, but they don't hurt. And also, I mean, I didn't take any classes, but there are some things that I've learned through this process that I kind of wish I would have known, or at least I would have been more aware of kind of going into it. Because when you're so kind of absorbed in the writing and the creating of the process, really all of that other stuff, the business side of stuff, really goes to the wayside. And it's something that honestly needs to be at the forefront. You really need to be thinking about that either just as much as the creative process, or maybe just a little bit more than you probably are right now. And that really goes into promoting and networking and doing all that. But with budgeting, what was really important with that is if you schedule and you budget, which is kind of the same thing, you're able to get your product out on time, and that's really important for people. And also, for backers, for people that want to trust you and trust your word.
Sure.
And so, and then you actually can tell when something is going to be done, because if you're just doing it kind of willy-nilly, kind of, out of the blue, and you're really sporadic about it, you can't give anyone kind of a deadline, or you can't give yourself a deadline of when this is going to be done. And I think budgeting that with your artist, if you're a creator or writer and you're paying someone, or you're doing this together, I think being able to budget it well and think about all the different avenues of what you're spending on really helps you to put at ease a lot of issues that you could be worried about. Because going into this, I'm thinking I'm going to do 4 volumes. Holy moly! I mean, that's a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of money,
Sure.
all of that. So I really had to sit down and go, what am I able to do? And, what can actually work for this? And I think that, if you're doing a smaller project, you'll get that out in no time if you're just able to kind of do things at a steady pace.
So what you're saying is, from the inception of you starting all this to now, there's been changes and growth like the seasons.
Hey, exactly. It's a part of life and something that I've noticed for sure.
So then seasons does have a piece of you in it, doesn't it? But then it probably has a piece of all of us in it, because we're all changing, we're all growing, and we're all going through the process. And me personally, I'm always oh, look, a pool, let's jump in and see what happens. So, growth and change, they're just inevitable for anybody who wants to excel and succeed.
Yeah.
So now, normally, my last question I ask, it doesn't really pertain to you because you're 23. I usually say, when you go back, if you can go back in time when you were starting out, what advice would you give yourself? You kind of did answer it, though. You would be a little more up on the budgeting and the marketing and the business side of things, which I do agree is the most important thing. So give us one last plug. Tell us about Seasons. Tell us about Lifeline real quick, because that's one of the tiers that, if somebody's interested, would like to buy. Tell us why this book is worth my hard-earned money.
All right. So Seasons is a story that you're going to read, and you're going to keep reading it, and you're going to reread it. There's so much to find in this story, and so much imagery and symbolism and metaphor. And it's something that you're not going to read once and go, oh, I'll never pick this up again. You're going to read it and you're going to pick it up again. And by the time you get to either the end of volume 2, or, if you follow us and you keep with us by the end of volume 4, there are things you're going to learn about this character, and learn about yourself, and learn about the story that you couldn't even have, fathomed in the beginning. And there's a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of, this isn't something throwaway entertainment where it's just a cool action story. It's a story about a human being, a young human being who's trying to learn how to be a successful person, and not in a business sense or anything, but just live in a sense to where, he can function, be functional in this world, in a world that, you feel like is against you. And so Fletcher is really that character that you can put yourself in. And he also has superpowers, and that makes it even more exciting, because you get to see him learning about what these powers mean to him and how it reflects, his own personal journey. And it's something to where by the time you get to the end of each volume, and especially by the end of the series, you're going to look back and you're going to be blown away at not only the growth of this character, but the creative growth of me and my artist Anthony, and following us on this journey. It's a creative journey for all of us to be around and to invest in. And all together, if you like stories that will move you and touch you and impact you on a very personal level, but also have the spectacle of your all-time favorites when it comes to comics, then Seasons is definitely for you, because not only are you getting a very character-driven personal story, but you're getting an epic, larger framework story that is going to be implementing really amazing set pieces, or really amazing moments of spectacle and energy and excitement. And you're going to be rooting for this character and the other characters in this book.
I love that panel right there.
Yeah.
That panel is incredible. And just, again, the use of colors, that looks like a photograph. I just want to, again, show everybody the quality of artwork as well. Aesthetically, it's just a pleasing book. And if, and we've read the reviews of how good the writing is to complement each other. So, look at that. That's just so much energy. It's fantastic. So I just, again, want to remind everybody there's 5 days left in this Indiegogo campaign. If you can reach 2,000, they'll get expedited shipping, so there'll be no back and forth. Hey, where's my book? So this is spring. Seasons spring, that's volume 1. That's Seasons summer, volume 2. Right now on Indiegogo, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So again, 5 days left, everybody. Let's support indie artists. Let's support writers. Let's support the creative passion that they bring forth. Things that are different, new and fresh ideas that we don't get in the main publishers anymore. We can easily complain about what's wrong with comics, but what's wrong with us if we're not being part of the solution? And part of the solution is supporting fresh new ideas by independent creators like Nandor. Nandor, thank you for coming on. It was a great pleasure having you tonight. I really wish you much success. Congratulations on your success so far, and I wish it continued for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a blast. I've had a great time being on today.
Good. I'm glad, because usually my wife doesn't like talking to me, so somebody's got to. So everybody, again, please, the links are in the chat. Go pledge right now. Let's get this thing up to the next. What do you call it?
Stretch goal.
Stretch goal. Thank you. There you go. Lost for words. And again, the book looks beautiful, and it's very interesting. And Lifeline. I want to remind you, one of the tiers is Lifeline, and it goes through the stages of a gentleman's life, from youth to elderly. 7 different artists, 7 different time frames in the life of this individual. That to me is just very intriguing. So everybody, seriously, please, at the very least, go check it out. And if you can or don't want to pledge, share it out, because God knows somebody else will want to.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can't pledge, share. But let's get it out there even more. Let's get him, to the next stretch goal. And let's show the big 2 that they're not the only ones out there. There's other there's other stories to tell.
Oh yeah, I definitely believe that. And I'd be the first one to say, and not to toot my own horn or anything, and I'm really tooting Anthony and really love his work, because I'm his biggest fan. His art and what he's brought to the table, honestly is comparable or even better than most of what main publishers are giving out right now. So
no, I agree. I think aesthetically, like I said, the book is very professional. It's wonderful. So man, I'm excited for you. I think it's going to be great in your future projects. So again, also the other link to the project that will be starting next year, you can click for alerts if you want to follow it. If you're into Silver Age and stuff like that, we'll get a new story out of that. You said it's an homage to Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I mean, come on, what old school comic collector isn't interested in that? So again, Nandor, thank you so much for coming on. It's a great pleasure talking to you. If you don't mind hanging out backstage for a minute, because I want to know what artist you're talking about.
Yeah, no problem. I will definitely hang around.
Cool. So thanks again for coming on. Continued success, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
All right. So, episode 37.5 is in a bag, and that was Nandor Fox Shaffer. And again, his Kickstarter was successful, and now he's got his Indiegogo of 5 days left for Seasons. It's volume 1 and 2, so you get the complete story thus far. So please go support him, go check it out. Pledge, share, all the above, or whichever you can afford to do. To those who came out and supported, thank you so much. For all the viewers that come out to watch, thank you so much. I appreciate the Rogues Gallery. I appreciate the support. The artists and creators and writers appreciate the support. They need the exposure. They need the support. They don't have distribution the same way, the big guys do. So the best distribution is word of mouth, sharing, etc. Mm-hmm. Hi, Heather. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you coming out. So thank you, guys. I do have another episode tomorrow, and I will give you details in a post. And other than that, we keep on plugging along, and I will leave you with what I always leave you. Be legendary, and have fun storming the castle.